Three housekeeping practices you want to avoid are dry sweeping, dry wiping, and using compressed air to clean off clothing or equipment. In this video, we're talking about silica. Silica is found all over mining and ready-mix concrete sites. You'll find it coming from the recycling plant, in the batching process, and kicked up from dry dirt roads. The most important thing you can do to protect yourself is to prevent exposure. Since we work with materials that contain silica and cannot eliminate the silica from those materials, we have to use engineering controls, work practices, and if those aren't possible, personal protective equipment. And just so we're clear, silica can cause lung disease and other health problems. With the new OSHA Silica rule, dry sweeping is not allowed unless no other means of sweeping are feasible. The fact of the matter is, we need to sweep our garage floors. We can't be working in dirty environments, and they need to be swept. The first thing to consider when it comes to housekeeping is whether you're working indoors or outdoors. The rules for indoors are different than outdoors, and what defines indoors versus outdoors may not be based on your common sense. If you open the garage door, you are still indoors. 3 walls and a ceiling is indoors. If you are sweeping indoors, you need to make sure that it's well ventilated. Well ventilated areas means that it's bringing the dust plume, the concentration of material that potentially contains silica, away from the workers. In such a case where you have to dry sweep, you need to wear the proper respiratory protection to protect you from the chance of respirable crystalline silica. So what do you do if you can't dry sweep? Clean off equipment before you bring it into the garage so there's less to sweep. If vacuuming, wet sweeping, sweeping with a respirator, using water to wash away the material are not feasible, you could also try oil and water-based sweeping compounds. The most important thing to remember while sweeping outdoors is to make sure that people aren't standing downwind of what you're cleaning off. Other things like surfaces of desks or benches also need to be cleaned off with appropriate means, such as a wet rag or vacuum. You cannot use compressed air to blow off any sort of surfaces, your clothing, or any equipment that you're working on. Now, outdoors, it's a different story. You want to avoid it, but sometimes you can't. The most important thing is to use some common sense and stay out of the dust plume as it moves away from the work area. And certainly don't do it if you cannot do it safely for other workers in the area or people in general. If people are downwind of where you're working, you'll be exposing them to material that could contain respirable crystalline silica. So 3 things that you do not want to do are dry sweeping, dry wiping, and using compressed air to remove dust.